Hi, Katie.
Oh, hi, how are
Good.
you?
How are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
day.
good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, we are certainly happy to be chatting with you today and learning more about branding specifically.
hmm
Can you start us off just by telling us a little bit about yourself and Paper Lime Creative?
Yeah, absolutely. I run a branding and graphic design studio in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So, hello, all my fellow Canadians. I see some have joined already. Yeah, so we specialize in business branding and providing them with amazing graphic design services to connect them with their dream customers, which I think is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, dream customers and how to make it about them and their dreams and maybe not
Absolutely.
us and our dreams,
Yeah.
right? So, all right, well, let's kick it off then, exploring that question and that distinction. Can you tell us what differentiates audience-centric branding from customer-centric branding?
Yeah, I think it's I see it in life stages of businesses, right? When we start a business, we're excited, it's our endeavor, it's our baby, and so we want to create something that's representative. We often create things that are representative of us at that stage in our
Mhm.
business. But as your business grows, and especially as you stop working in your business and start working more on your business, you want to think about your branding as a tool to connect you with customers. So, what does your customer want from your business as opposed to what you want from your business? So, we want
Mhm.
to create, in my world, visuals and messaging that our customers want to see, not necessarily what we as business owners like or representative of us. It needs to be representative of who we want to work with.
Mhm. So the first thing that comes to mind is kind of like thinking about that general bio that we all have to, send out if we do a piece of content or we're going to show up at an event. And usually in a bio, it's about our degrees and our background and our interests. And it sounds like you're saying like, hey, flip that script and tell your customers right off the bat how you actually help them fulfill their dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. All right, so now that we sort of have that foundation laid and we know that we really need to be in our customer's mind rather than in our own mind and our own ego, what do you think is uniquely critical about understanding this principle for women business owners in particular?
Oh, I think it's important. Um, how do I want to word this? It's really important that we define our ideal customer because especially when we're females serving other females, um, we often think everyone has had the same lived experiences as us.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that a lot where I'm asked someone who their ideal customer is and they describe themselves.
Yeah.
And maybe that is the case. But to get a little more critical and really decide if am I identical to the person I'm serving, or maybe I'm serving a person who's 10 years behind me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've been in the design industry for 10 years. I mean, I'm B2B. But if you're a coach like you are, Brooke, maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
helping someone who was in your shoes 10 years ago. So just to get really critical about who we want to help and why we want to help them
Mm-hmm.
can help that branding journey along.
Yeah. And so I think also, a lot of times there's self-doubt or imposter syndrome that kind of comes into the branding experience for women business owners. And I love that you're saying like, even if you are attracting people who are similar to you, really kind of put that in context of where that person is in the present rather than maybe where you were.
Yeah.
you know, if I think about myself 10 years ago, that was a decade ago, and things were different in all, in culture and society along with in my life. So kind of bringing that person, that prospective client into the present moment means that her circumstances are, within today's cultural context, and how can we speak directly to each other from that framework rather than maybe some old thinking or something.
hmm
Uh, Okay, so that's getting us a little bit more dialed in to really how to start thinking in a more customer centric way. Can you share a couple of stories with us where maybe you've taken a client who had more of a personal, element to their brand, and was able to turn that into a customer-centric brand.
Absolutely. There's one client that comes to mind immediately. It's a company called Time Saver. They're a software company. It's a daycare CRM. So it helps daycare owners and directors coordinate their employees, their parents, and their kids. It's a popular software in Western Canada, but he is expanding. So if there's anyone listening elsewhere in the world, I'm sure he'd love for you to check it out. It was really a fun project because it was created by a software developer. So when I met him, it was a very techie brand. It was dark green. It had this, like, the best I can describe is like this tech font. And it was a really fun project to do the research on. Because as you go down the rabbit hole that is branding, there were some really key things that stuck out. The industry is, I think, something crazy like 80% female. It's mostly women working in childcare. In Alberta specifically, a lot of childcare workers have English as a second language. So we have, a lot of immigrants from the Philippines and South Asia and things like that. So a lot of childcare workers have English as a second language. And then we actually got to interview childcare workers and directors, and we asked them what their favorite part of their job was. And they said their favorite part is the getting to be imaginative and creative with the kids. And so it's on my website if anyone wants to check it out. It might even be in my Instagram feed if you scroll back far enough. But we ended up coming with this really playful brand. It's like this baby blue and purple, which are colors of creativity and calm because you're organizing everything. And then the font was picked intentionally to be really clear. So again, for that kind of English as a second language demographic, it wasn't some big fancy font that would be hard to read. And we got to add these like playful scribbles all throughout the website. So it went from this like tech brand, because he has this computer programmer brain, something that daycare owner, director, parent, because there's an app, would go, oh yeah, this is for me.
That's a great example. I love that. It's very like you can imagine it in your mind, these two different sort of backgrounds coming together, and how someone who's a software developer naturally would lean into more of like an engineering tech look, but then their customer and the end user is actually totally different. So
yeah,
very neat. And now the font, that one definitely took me by surprise, because I don't think I would have thought that far to think you want a really crisp, clear font for someone who's reading this as a second language. That's a great nuance that you came up with there.
And I mean, that's why I really love my job and helping people with branding, because it's just a puzzle, right? You just have to find the pieces, put them together, and it kind of reveals itself after, like you said, I've done this for a long time. So after years of practice, it just kind of, it's what makes logical sense. And so even that might not be my goals, not what he asked for, but what he needed, right? Yeah. And so he never would have asked for this kind of, try to see if I have his brand book handy, but I don't. But this playful logo is probably not something he would have asked for as a male software developer. But he's selling to female childcare workers whose, again, favorite part of their job is that creativity and imagination that they get with their kids every day.
Yeah, that's such a good example. And also just like being in the user mindset, or even the beginner mindset, because we think we need all of these bells and whistles from our own perspective, but actually sometimes simplifying it can be even better. Absolutely. So if somebody wants to explore customer-centric branding with you, and they want to kind of have you support them in solving that puzzle, what are the first steps? Like, how do you generally work with people?
Yeah, I mean, for a full rebrand like we did for Time Saver, it starts with a sort of a quick intro call to make sure that the goals and the packages align, so that we're fit for each other. And then we do, I did one this morning, we do a discovery session, and that is the meat of it for me. And it's a super fun, it's about an hour and a half, and we get into who are you targeting, the problems your business solves. We do some brand personality exercises. And then I take all that away and get to go do that research where, again, in the case of Time Saver, I'm calling daycares and saying, what do you what do you like to do with your job, or what are your pain points? Then I come up with a brand position. And the way I always describe it is, Volvo's the safest and Kia's the cheapest and Ferrari's the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
They're all cars, but they all fit into their industry they all have space in their industry. So where do you fit in whatever you do? And I do a lot of work for real estate agents, and that's, kind of one of those industries where they can all feel very similar, but they all have their own unique offering and their own unique client that they want to serve.
Right.
So even though I've done probably 15 or 20 realtor brands, they're all very unique. And then once we have the brand position, I get to be creative for a couple of weeks and come up with all the colors and fonts and logo design and brand story. And
sounds like a fun job.
I enjoy it a lot.
I love the research and the conversations too. When I was developing my current coaching program, I did more than 50 interviews with women, and yeah, that's the best part, I think, is like uncovering those things that you hadn't thought of and seeing things from somebody else's perspective. So nice. Well, I appreciate you sharing this with us and helping us, flip the script a little bit. Maybe it kind of like the camera lens, like instead of flipping it on us, flip it back on our customer, our client, and see where they are and how we add value to their experience and kind of brand from that perspective. Thank you again so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to chat with you. And I know people can reach you here on Instagram at Paperline Creative. Are there any other handles or websites, URLs that you want to share?
Sure, yeah. All my social media is at Paperlime Creative. Website is paperlime.ca. And then if you want to reach out to me by email, it's Katie@paperlime.ca.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. I appreciate your insight today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brooke. It was great.
All right. Bye.
All right. Take care.